All right, welcome everybody to another lunation. This is actually our first kind of real look at the moon phases for a particular month. Our first month being April 2023. And I'm here with Angie McCleary, my co-host. Here we are. Welcome, Angie.
Hi, Chris.
Are you ready for this?
Well, ready or not, here we go.
Now, as if March 2023 wasn't big enough. This is two big months, March and April 2023. As you can see here on our calendar, let me change this out. We're going to be looking at a solar eclipse third week in April, but some phases before that, such as the full moon, we'll be looking at that in Libra. Then starts waning, goes into a last quarter in Capricorn. We'll discuss that and what to do there. Solar eclipse, we got quite a bit of information for that one, and even looking further into 2024 even and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And then rounding out April with the first quarter. Anything you see, just big picture intro?
Well, I don't know. I think for this, it's April's showers bring May flowers, but I think it's going to bring some opportunity, some relationships, and money might be.
Money. Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and get started after this. Oh, we still have the camera on, so we might as well talk about something.
Something.
All right, as my face turns red. All right, here we go. Let's start with. Let's see. What are we finishing? We're finishing a new moon from March. So we're about halfway through that cycle when we get to the full moon on the 5th. And so let's talk about that as I pull up the astrology here. Ange, take it away. What are we looking at for the full moon?
Well, it's known as the seed moon or the wind moon. April is a time of seed sprouting and also wind. It's always known for windy tornadoes, possibly. The storm season comes in at that time, but wind from all directions we have to really focus on. You're planting your garden, you're starting to see this seed sprout, and just let the wind spread life all over. Germination. It, breaking it down a little bit more into details, we've got, it's in Libra, but it starts, it's numerology, the 4/5/2023 adds up to a 7 again. So we're looking at investigative abilities, a keen eye on stuff, analytical skills, detail-oriented. It's about drive that comes from inner wisdom. So there's a tendency of being a perfectionist. With this number, fault finding, there's a counterbalance to this, is to make sure that you want to, keep an open mind. And this is just setting off the tone a little bit. It's also on a Thursday again. Thursdays are ruled by Jupiter. It means I grow. And it brings luck. Jupiter he's going to bring some luck detail to this.
Does this cross okay, it's 11:34 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why.
Oh.
For some of us it's going to be on the 5th.
Okay.
And some of us it's going to be on the 6th.
Sure.
And I think that Central Time is that cutoff. Mm-hmm. Central Time is going to be on the 5th, and everything to the west will be on the 5th. And everything to the east of Central Standard Time will be on the 6th.
I think that the peak and the coming into the whole fruition of the full moon and stuff. But it's a really good time. It's the time to be most productive. On a Thursdays, that's pertaining to Thursday. Um, so really doing the social networking and socializing and that kind of stuff. But then we go into what really is, the whole meaning of it is Libra, the Libra influence. It's a time of they're indulging in beauty and luxury and all the same time they're balancing and compromising. It's another cardinal sign. Very masculine, but yeah, it's ruled by Venus. So, and then it's the only zodiac that is actually a tool. And I kind of find that funny as far as now our modern day terms of a tool kind of really sets up what a Libra is. And not, they're just the epitome of charming. They're beautiful. They're, always trying to find balance and stuff. So they're accommodating to this side and they're accommodating to this side. Their only thing, and in our zodiac sign, that's an element instead of a creature per se. But they have a tendency of jumping back and forth on that scale.
I think they're challenged to create balance or find balance in this life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Which, that one of the things is they really kind of expect admiration. They like to be admired. And they seem to have a lot of things in control, but they're really not very good at decision making. And I think again, that's that balance. They're trying to compromise on both sides, and it really kind of throws their weight off. So we've got like natural born. So for instance, stars that are Libras, just so you kind of get an idea, is Gwyneth Paltrow, Gwen Stefani, two, really beautiful people and charming. Luke Perry, he's, to me, I'm like, yes, he's definitely Julio Iglesias, Barbara.
Is he still alive?
Julio, yeah, I think. Oh yeah. Barbara Walters. Is she alive? No, she's not. She's not. And our most, I think, despised judge, one of them is Simon Cowell. He's very charming, but yet can come off as very arrogant, and he loves that admiration. You can tell that very much so. So I think overall, we need to seek some harmony during this time. Of course, it's the full moon, so there is a point of it's highlighting the aspects of things and then shedding what no longer serves. And I think it might be a lot of stuff that's bottled up, and it could just be pop off at that time. And but the Libra energy is really going to like that. They're really going to like to really get rid of that deep-seated emotions and stuff that they kind of do that in their own aspect, but they like that. They like to be releasing that weight. So I don't think it's a time to be resisting too much for and that's where I talked about the shadow work. It's really time to work on that kind of stuff. And don't resist it. Let it come up. Get rid of it, because it needs to. It's going to. It needs to be exposed at this time. So there's different things that associate with the body as far as Libra is concerned, and it's all in their lower back and their kidneys area. So if you're having issues with your low back, this is a great time at the full moon to really get out there and dance and move and let that synovial fluid go. Feel the lower back, release that tension, move the core around to get the kidneys functioning better. That's where we hold and store all of those Libra emotions at. So there's boat pose. As far as yoga is concerned, you can do boat pose, which helps. It's a balancing getting your balance really together, recognizing at this time, you're recognizing your true self, I think, is the internal work that's going to be really focusing on. So, there's a few other things. Just seeking harmony, peace, self-love is really important. Another thing for the full moon is, get dressed up really fancy and get prettied up and have a fancy dinner. And even if it's just with yourself, which I think that's, something that really needs to be done, is feeling that beautifulness and enjoying it with, enjoying yourself. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
I do two things at once here. I'm the sound engineer and the astrologer. So, one thing. Okay, so what makes? Question before we start the astrology. What makes the full moon in Libra a shadow work? Kind of, is it the full moon or is it the more?
Yeah. Yeah. That, it's a shedding time. So this is the perfect time to work on those things that no longer serve you.
Work on or release?
Release. Sure. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Recognize at this time, it's.
Yeah. And what we like to do, first of all, on these full moons is to look at the ruler of Libra as Venus. Venus is also in home in Taurus. And so she's not out of place. She is a loose conjunction with Uranus. So there's going to be some changes in relationship, or at least the relationships that you value. The value part is Taurus. And that part there that I just mentioned is going to make the full moon needing to be adjusted. So emotions adjusting around changes in relationships, basically. Mercury is into the North Node, so thoughts are really into the future. I think this time, I think future-oriented thoughts might be better served in the new moon, and so that might be a little challenge for a full moon to be thinking about the future. I think it might be helpful, especially for an air sign, unpredictability of the full moon, to ground yourself. Kind of like what Angie talked about, maybe movement or dance, but also just any sort of sensory. And that matches where Venus is currently, where the ruler is. Other than that, there's a strong Taurus aspect. So we can kind of feel like things are slowing down, maybe getting a little more bullheaded and more sure of yourself, maybe seeking value. And there's also that obvious Aries influence still with Jupiter and Sun in conjunction. So that's a real positive thing for this full moon time period. It's almost that aspect right there, which is shining onto the moon, kind of signals more of like a celebration to me. So I don't know, anything kind of festive might be appropriate here, especially if it works towards balance or diplomacy, or maybe working out an age-old problem with a enemy combatant or whatever. Making peace might be in the works here, which is a very Libra thing.
Yeah. The affirmation I have is I can navigate conflict in a calm and fair way without the need to rush towards resolution.
I like that. Very much a full moon too, just full moon time with all the unpredictability. I think all this kind of orchestrates really well here. There's minimum pressure. Pressure point is Pluto, which has already gone into Aquarius. That's another video. Square over to Mercury. So a lot of pressure on the thoughts, power, is there, power and control, but lots of other lines just speak to, and placements speak to kind of everything is in its place, really.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else for the first part? That's the 5th and or the 6th, depending on where you live. That's the full moon. And from there, we turn into yin time. I almost said yang. Coming from yang, leading up to the full moon. Then we switch over to more of a yin environment with the waning gibbous. And I'm going to switch our astrology over to the last quarter, which should be at on the 13th in Capricorn. And I look over the astrology, and yes, it is. And it's marked by a square over to the sun. So, last quarter, what are we looking at here?
We're adjusting and releasing. We're closing pending issues, acknowledging an abundance, giving back, and letting go. It's beginning renewing inner energy. So with that being in Capricorn, that's it's a great one for him.
It's a challenge. I would think it'd be a big challenge.
It is a challenge, but I think it's, me personally, I'm going to put my own connotation to it. It's much needed. At this time, I think we've had a lot of pressure, Capricorns, and we're so structured in success and seriousness, and it's time to start a different kind of relationship.
What do you mean, relationship to a person or
to themselves? I think much, yeah. Much needed time just to let go.
I think the goats climbing the mountain, at least emotionally, climbing the mountain in this last quarter, the challenge is find kind of like a flat vista and just take a break, get the tent out, and just have a period of time where you're not climbing and not doing. This is one of the most challenging phases for these workhorses signs, and Capricorn being one of them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure too that in this regard. You've got Jupiter and Sun together. I didn't mean to take over your overview.
Yeah, you did it. That's okay.
All right. The Jupiter and the Sun together is very positive, optimistic in Aries. So very, powerful, can be very impulsive, can be more egocentric. So that side, but very optimistic, powerful, could be over expressive or very, very impulsive with that Jupiter influence, but pressured by, it's getting close. It's very close to a conjunction. Might as well be a conjunction at 4 a.m. on April 13th. So we're going to consider this a conjunction with Pluto. Lots of extra pressure, power, and control here, which going to make it kind of just very hard to step back, get your tent out and sleeping bag rolled out and just sort of relax. But I think that's what we need to do here.
Kind of visually seeing, the goat at the top of the mountain. It's made it to the top of the mountain. It was really hard work getting up there.
Does the goat ever really make it to the top?
I know, right? It'll find something to, yeah. But I think it's reached, and that's probably what it is. Does it just needs to stop there for a second, and enjoy how far they've made it. Maybe look down, look back, over it. But there's going to be, with that influence, it's going to be really hard to pull back the reins on a goat. They're not.
So just get ready for that, because it's very important anyway to do that on a last quarter moon. But we're getting prepared for a super duper big new moon. And this is actually the second of 2 new moons in Aries in a row. And it just happens to also be a solar eclipse. So it's big. And there's a lot of requirements here to really spend a lot of time in your imagination, because this is a hyper important period of time. maybe not a lot of doing. That might be one of the challenges yet, but it's the planning part, the new moon part, that is critical, because it's not just the 28-day phase, 29-day phase, just the lunar phase. It's also the eclipse phase. So 2 phases coming into one at the same time. So this last quarter, so 13th to the 19th, and I think 20th, but we'll look at the times there,
20th.
Are very critical, that you don't waste your energy, just starting new projects, or I mean, if anything, just as small of projects or to-do lists, just kind of finishing up at it, hopefully just nothing, just yinning out as you lead up to this solar eclipse.
Avoid any new adventures. Yeah.
So, Ange, your take on the solar eclipse?
Well, I don't know, if we talk about it being the total solar eclipse first, or we talk about it being, the new moon part, but probably because the solar eclipse is kind of in effect. So this is about, solar really supercharges our
Solar eclipse.
right. Yes, the solar eclipse. So it's very dynamic, it's very bold, it's very empowering, and
that's not even the Aries part.
that has nothing to do with the Aries.
Right.
Yeah, it's just in itself, and then it being in Aries, that's just a wham, pow. But you can really think of an eclipse as just an eclipse in general, as like a wild card, guarantee that something is going to change. There's definitely going to be change. You can't,
do we have an indication when? Is it over the next 6 months?
No, because that
is it right away?
Right. Well, the influence of these lunar experiences with eclipses and stuff can last 6 months, and that's going back or forward. So, I mean, you got a year. This is like the halfway point, and then it can be really felt for, up to 2 weeks before and after too. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know about you, but I mean, I think I can feel something already brewing, and we're just taping this in the beginning of March. So, yeah, but the solar.
Well, what do you feel?
I think there's just an eagerness. We're so
okay.
Yeah, there is an eagerness
and like
for
an
change.
anticipation.
Yeah,
for
I think so. Yeah,
I think all of us. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but
yeah, but you can speak for a lot of people because you speak to or you listen to a lot of people. So, yeah, I think that. But there's with the solar eclipse, it has to do with the change in our outer world. So, again, what you said, no, this is not a time to be beginning anything, any new adventures at all.
Well, I just want to clarify, this is kind of the first part of the manifesting cycle, and it is the beginning, but we're not talking about actual behaviors and actions that starts the project, right?
Right. Yeah. This is, again, remember, this is the outer world, not really your inner world and stuff at that time when the eclipse happens. So for the new moon in April 20th, 2023, it's a number 4. And it was the same as last month. It's on a Thursday again. So we're 4 to...
And then again, sorry to interrupt.
Right, and Aries.
Yeah, but it's at that time, 11:12 p.m. This is Central Daylight Savings Time. And so there we are again, Central Time and West is going to be on the 19th, and then anything to the east of Central Time is going to be on the 20th, that solar eclipse. So probably should have slid this thing to the right, but you get...
Yeah, so it's practical, hardworking, responsible, logic, but yet there's a pull to be rigid or stubborn, That's the best time to loosen up and think outside the box. Take a risk at this time too.
What?
That's for the number. That's for
That was
new.
for the number.
Yes,
Now
that's
that's for the
for.
20th. So that'd be for
Mm-hmm,
the West people, the people west of Central Time Frame.
that's the numerology of it. Being on Thursday again. So we're in Jupiter. So we have the I luck or the I grow, excuse me, and luck. You can put that with that. I grow in luck. But so again, the second Aries new moon in a row. Really working on transforming this time into a pleasant and unexpected way. Last month was the vision, and now this is you are starting a big new shift, groundbreaking. But then we have the Taurus aspect, what comes in is just really nice. It's going to be helpful with that Aries in just to slow it down a little bit, and just think things over. So, and then you add, and we got Mercury retrograde, and a little bit of talking about that. We get to revisit this stuff just right afterwards. So I think a lot of it in my feeling, it is time to tune in to your purpose, really tune in and take action towards that vision. It's time to tweak that vision board and upgrade a little bit.
Yeah, and get the camera out for both of us. Yeah, I think I see a lot of potential aggressiveness in the collective. There's a lot of square and a couple of tiny little opportunities, but we're squared. These three amigos are squared over to Pluto that has just changed signs in Aquarius. And so this is like power and control, the pressure to control, and versus Aries, which is the warrior, the aggressive one can be really defensive, really fast to defend self. And now that's kind of put on pressure. So even more edgy. A lot of tension there that I'm seeing. The Peacekeeper Venus is in a square or tense with limitation on relationships. So that kind of makes us all feel a little bit more isolated. Yeah, I think this is just a tricky time. Now you incorporate the new moon, the solar eclipse kind of intention. I think this is a great time to take and channel that energy, that extra pressured energy, and imagine maybe reconstructing self, like reconstructing identity, maybe making it a goal in at least the next month, if not the next 6 months, next half year, to really reinvent yourself. And you mentioned values. Yeah, values, especially with that Taurus aspect, but also that feeds right into who you are as a person, what's important to you, really defining those. And then because this is pressured, this would be a good channel too, is to iron out your boundaries, which which flag you're going to carry for the next 6 months, which ideal, which value. And here's my line in the sand too. You can go ahead and draw those out in your mind, because the warrior will defend whatever's inside that boundary.
Yeah.
You can really, really make clear exactly where that boundary is on all sorts of things.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think mantra is with the Aries. They're in the head. Their body association is part of up in the head. So, and they're the ram. They're strong. They headbutt. They are warriors. They're initiators, confronters. But the aspect I think is to go much deeper than this. And I am powerful, for sure, because that's an Aries is very powerful, but they have to be very careful on how they use that authority. So the head gets in the way, and so the question I think is, who am I And what am I here to do? Is one thing that to really look at that time, at the new moon.
There's a real, I don't want to say big and influential. I would say these squares are very dominant with the Aries energy and the new Pluto transition into Aquarius. But this sextile, I think, really speaks well to the new moon energy and what we should be doing, which is intention and envisioning. We have an opportunity with Neptune and Pisces. So, spiritual, but clairvoyance, mysticism, and also precognitive dreams. You can read the future. There's an opportunity there to get a lot of power and to access your power with little Pluto there. While he's engaging with the Aries energy, there's this opportunity for the new moon to really access your true power deep inside. Now, it could be tricky because Neptune's, kind of a illusionist, but
I think, setting your intentions very much so, and heading it with gusto. Be enthusiastic about it. Again, back a few things for the new moon to possibly do is you can do a facial,
okay.
But you're focusing on the head, it's that area is taking care of your head. That's self-care in that process. Neti potting is another thing for other people are familiar.
Clearing out your sinuses.
Clearing out the sinuses, clearing out the head, and meditating. Really meditate. There's some things you can stare into a flame, which is really good. Being Aries is a fire sign. But listen as those April winds come through and stuff, and they're blowing all and circulating, it's all rotating around the head and stuff. Just really meditate. How do your surroundings help or hinder you? Think about what's hindering you. And just body movement would be, just rotating the head around. Exercises and stretching the neck. There's a lot of weight that in the head that Aries holds. So just be aware of those things.
Okay, and I went ahead and pulled up our chart for the actual physical part of the solar eclipse. It's a total eclipse, and as Angie said, April 20th. But again, if you're west of the central time frame in the United States, it's going to be on the 19th. But here's the path. And we're only looking at probably, Indonesia and Australia and a couple of these other islands. Everyone else just kind of out of luck. Let's see, we talked about the timing. What I want to do really quick is because I came across this information when I was looking for the total solar eclipse. Here is the only next reasonable eclipses that are going to hit the United States. So I'm sorry if you're outside the United States, I'm kind of part and partial, but for all you living inside the continental United States, here's the chart you need to know, because this is kind of the last of our eclipses for quite a while. And I'm going to show you the next chart. It's kind of sad, actually. The total solar eclipse. Now, this is the obviously the one I just showed you. The one in April of 2023 is way out in the ocean on the other side of the world in Australia. But the next one, the annular solar eclipse, is in October of 2023, and that marches right across western and into Texas of the United States. So look into that one. That one's an annular one, meaning that the moon doesn't completely cover. It's not a total, so it leaves like a ring of fire around the moon. It's pretty cool, I think.
The moon appears to be smaller than the
It
sun.
is like not just appears.
Well, right.
Well, I mean, it doesn't shrink, but it's further away. So, appears. Yeah, it appears. You're right. Now, the one, it's amazing, kind of rips right through where we are, is the one on April 8th, 2024. I've even tried to go get hotel rooms for right on that path. All of them, all the cool places are all sold out. I haven't even found a place that's close to there. So we might just,
And it's just a skip away from us.
I
So,
know. So we can
yeah,
just leave the house and go, for a few
long
hours.
bike ride.
Yep. Now, here's what I want to show you for going forward. So remember the 2017 one? Ange and I saw that one. That was a cool experience. This is the one in 2024. So that's next April. Now, these are just total solar eclipse. These do not include annular. But the next one from there is 2044. So we're looking at next year, April is the last total solar eclipse for quite a while, right? So that's what makes it even more important, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's all I had. Anything for who's going to see it and when? And I think we covered all that.
Yeah.
All right. Back to our chart. Anything else for the eclipse?
I don't know. I think we've done a pretty good job.
Now, the neat thing with that Aries energy, going back to our chart, is that right away, and advancing this day by day, right away, as Angie already alluded to, the Mercury's going to start its retrograde probably right away here. And once the moon begins, just a few days later, this Aries energy is ready to roar with stubborn Taurus. And so it is the time to start your projects. And that's called the waxing crescent. As soon as, within 24 hours of the eclipse, you'll start to see a little sliver of crescent there on the moon. And that is indicating time to start the engines and start getting going. But we're going to now talk about the 27th, the first quarter. This is where we really start to get some momentum going before this, right? And we can really start pressing down on the accelerator and start and get. And interestingly,
I think you're cruise at this time. Yeah.
We have the moon in Leo. So not only is it fun, but we've got some extra power behind us to really be creative, playful, entertaining,
kid-like.
And that's not necessarily just a good thing. That can also be a whiny thing too. But
yeah, going out and getting the gazelle and then just kicking it for the rest of the day and enjoying.
Yeah, and this is important because it rounds out this is the final few days of April. And so the final few days is going to be, a lot of pressure to what? Entertain, be seen. These are emotions. Emotions need to be seen and not afraid of anything, and sort of more attacked. Yang. This is the epitome of yang in the zodiac.
Might be going after the Taurus, because the Leo aspect going after the cow, after the gazelle. So there might be, the cow stubborn, chews over a few things, but they both like luxury and stuff. So I think there's just going to be a burst of wanting to get things done, but might not think through it too well.
Impulsive.
Yeah.
Act before you think. Now, no, I'm not saying that's what you should do.
No.
But first quarter moon is productivity. Just the first quarter part. And there's also kind of some blocks because, as you know, the first quarter is the 90 degree, it's a square. And that squared energy produces some blocks, some conflict, some pressure. And so the challenge here is to break through those in the first quarter moon. It's to break through those and proceed on your way. So I think it's neat and it'll be fun to be in that Leo emotional energy. I think it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I think it's action time, confidence, and leadership. Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
And thoughts in that period of time are reflective of the past and easy. I think you said this earlier, easy to remember what you had intended in the Aries solar eclipse. So easily remembering what you designed for this period of time, and let that channel your emotional impetus to break through those barriers and get on to the project's completion. All right. And then we head in, to a waxing gibbous. This is even more powerful. Now it's full on afterburner accelerator. And you get Virgo to work with. And Libra again.
Okay.
All right.
It's a lot of repeating.
Well, we appreciate you being a part of our lives, and thanks for tuning in to April 2023 Lunation, or otherwise known as moon phases. Hope this was help in your planning. If I were you and you're close to the solar eclipse for 2024, I know that's far away, but I highly recommend you start looking at your plans, because that's the last total eclipse in the United States for a long time.
Yeah. Don't forget to leave any questions, any comments and things like that for us as well. Hopefully we've covered everything. If you find some things that arise with you, definitely put it out there. We'd love to pick up on some of what you guys are going through, what you're thinking, and how we can make it better for you as well.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Stay enchanted.